This episode is brought to you by the RVA Podcast Network. Find more information at rvapodcast.org.
We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. What's good, y'all? It's season 5 of the Past BT Pod with your host, BT. We have a new season here, and it's time to get this show going. As you all know, we talk about sports. Sports won't be as big of a carrier this year. I think we'll be carrying more towards the stuff, and predominantly on the sports side, you'll be hearing more from the musical aspect, but we will still be talking about technical. We'll be giving you the video game content. I will still be going over the ass of the week. We'll definitely be passing the message. You'll be getting an angel number and you'll get quite a few gems. So sit back, relax, take your time, don't waste your time. This is the Past BT with your host, Brian. What's going on, y'all? Episode 322 of The Past is here. I was indifferent. I was back and forth mentally trying to figure out if I was going to turn on the mic, do a show, what I had planned for the day. Content is available. Things are going on. Technically, I should be adjusting my television based on the LeBron and AD-less Lakers against what some have donned the new cheat code of the NBA, the Brooklyn Nets. But I kind of got just some background noise just playing just to kind of kill time. But I hope everyone's doing well. I've been able to do a lot of reflecting in the last couple of days, especially yesterday. This is not gonna be one of my typical, we're gonna run the mill about what's been going on in the sports and tech world. I mean, some stories have happened. I was initially planning to have a guest on. She was able to share that she had some things come up where, plans change. But luckily, like I tell people all the time, giving me a heads up helps me out tremendously. But even greater, like, she was able to spend time with her kids, which I'm all for any parent being a great parent to their children. Like, as everyone knows, I make the joke or the reference of population zero, but I also know the importance of, making sure that kids enjoy every moment that they get as kids, because, not to say what I was saying, and once you become an adult, the dance is totally different on the other side. And I think we don't know that until we really witness and experience it. I'm also going to share that I'm kind of going back to my old school ways with my recording setup again. Like, I'm still using my Yeti. I told y'all about Audacity. I'm still looking to get back to Audition again. We're going to see, just kind of see how the cards play out for that. But I'm not getting too far ahead of myself if I don't have to. What I will say is that I've aligned or readjusted my my microphone apparatus where it's a little more, you'll probably hear me a little crisper, and you might not get as much pitch from me. I'm back to using my windscreen, which I think was very helpful. Like, I've kind of been in that back and forth stage with recording, whether to use a windscreen, whether to use a pop filter. I've even gone back to my shock mount, which I haven't used that in a long time. And any of you who are listening to this podcast that don't know anything that I'm talking about, it's okay. If you are planning to join the pod community, you will learn these terms with no problem, and you will thank me later when you hear them or realize the importance.
of how you can sound very loud or very soft spoken, and just having something to kind of catch your words before it gets there. It's not a big deal, but just something that's important to kind of keep in mind when you're trying to get good content out. So when we last left our podcast, when we last recorded, right after we finished recording, I'm not sure if the news had broke at that time, but they had stated that the health of DMX was grave. Most people know him as Earl Simmons. And I'm making sure I get the name right, because if I don't, I'd be a horrible podcaster. We're gonna hope I can do names right, because if I didn't, something is definitely wrong here. Yes, Earl Simmons. Yeah, I was paying attention. I made a joke with some people that my name was Eric for a personal story, which I'll share. I plan, and I'm telling y'all this now so you can prepare. I will be bringing back Armbands Anonymous. I might be slipping Armbands Anonymous as a weekly conversation on the podcast. We'll see, to kind of get some tidbits and teasers of some interactions that I've had with people. It's a different world than what I'm doing now. I'm not really telling what I'm doing, but those who know, and I'll just leave it at that. Like I said, I'm gonna get to the story about DMX in a bit, but I did want to take time and say congratulations to let me make sure I'm getting both teams right. What I want to say, I think Stanford girls won the women's championship against Arizona, and Baylor made Gonzaga look like they were just not meant to be there or something. I don't know what. They made them look like little pups. I guess that's the best way to put it. Gonzaga just didn't come in like they wanted to win. Arizona did have a close chance in making the game close. The girl, number 2, I can't remember her name, but she took a wild 3-point shot, and it didn't really graze much, but that was the last play, and Stanford went on to win the championship. And it's an interesting yet a solid statement. It's not talked about as to how tough it becomes to not hear as much as we do about the sport for women at all. We get, a lot of it, we kind of always will put it into these like fine-tuned reasons as to, we don't, it's not as big of a story, but that's debatable to some extent too. And I think it's a matter of how big of a fan you are of the sport itself. At least that's how I would look at it. That hurt very tremendously. Of course, I'm gonna start doing this now. I did in the midst of the show. Had no sneezing concerns before. But yeah, Stanford did beat Arizona 54 to 53. So Stanford, I think it was their first championship in a while. So huge shouts to them. It was a blindsided matchup, especially because Paige Beckers I thought Beckers was going to be in the championship, but it was an even bigger award because she was able to get Player of the Year, and I believe for the men's side it was the kid from Iowa who I think is going pro. A lot of people are questioning him and how he's going to look at the pro level. Big announcement came up of Scottie Pippen Jr. getting deciding to go to the NBA or go test the waters of the NBA. He's going in without an agent. Scotty Barnes is going to put his name in the hat, and my sports group is getting grief for it, or they're going to be catching grief for it, because each kid or each person who decides that they're going pro, I'm going to put up their stats for that season. So if your season ain't been it, then I'm going to let it be known you ain't really had the best of seasons, but hey, it is what it is. But we'll, like I said, we'll look forward to that and see how that all pans out. Like I said earlier, the NBA is kind of coasting along. We're at about a 5-week press run now for teams to try to vie for those, at least the top 6. And then 7, 8, 9, and 10 is going to be kind of a play-in battle of who gets the 7th and the 8th seed. And it's almost like you'll be winning a game only to then go in to play against either a Utah, a LA, or even a Philly, or practically Brooklyn. So it's going to be interesting. I'm wondering, and it hasn't come up yet, if they're going to go the bubble route or if they're going to, keep it where they can play at their respective home courts or whatever. One other story that I'll share, and then I'll go into where my recording hits today, and just kind of a bit of a transparent yet a vulnerable conversation. The WNBA, I didn't even, and I should have known it was coming, or we're at that point, because I always will remember that it started in '96, and I was in I was in middle school going to high school, to show my age. And I can remember when it was the Houston Comets. I think Seattle Storm had just started. The New York Liberty were a big deal, because I'm not gonna lie, Teresa Weatherspoon. It was kind of like who did a lot of people think were better between Weatherspoon and Witherspoon. Like, I thought Witherspoon was good. A lot of people rocked with Weatherspoon as a player, but they both played pretty good ball. But Houston won, like, I think the first 4 championships, and anyone who says what they feel, like, they literally called Cynthia Cooper the Michael Jordan of WNBA for her just that 4-year run. Like, there are other players who have won multiple championships, and it should never be taken for granted. I mean, Maya Moore can be put in that conversation. You could say Diana Taurasi is a bucket. Like, Diana Taurasi, you could make a case for Lisa Leslie. I was glad that Tamika Catchings I think she got 1 or 2 championships before she retired, but I know she got 1. It's a couple players who I just kind of like kept a close eye on and seeing how they were able to maneuver through the league. Like, I'm looking forward to, I can't remember her name, but she plays for Las Vegas Aces. And I'm going into all of that information and talking about all of that because now here we are. You have the 25th season. They have brought out some very customized, creatively designed jerseys for this season, and they were able to give the players a chance to kind of see what they would look like before the season start. Like, they sent them out to the players, and they're going to get that all prepared. I'm curious to see if they're going to go the bubble route again, or if they're going to actually run a season as normal. The tough part is, having venues and how you'll be setting it up based on COVID, and if it's even going to be, and I don't want to say it sound like that and saying, is it going to be worth opening the venue? Because you got to look at it as the cost of everything to get a basketball game or get any event running in a facility. How much that costs, a lot of people as fans don't know. And to say what I was saying, a lot of fans don't care because they're not looking at it from that side of the coin. And I mean, and in some aspects, I don't blame them, but some aspects I do, only because it's relevant information to think of in the climate of the game, or just how the way the game is or is not played. And that's not just basketball, that's football, any sport that's out there. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how that will play out. But I'm still kind of keeping a light eye on sports. Like I said, I've got the next few weeks has been kind of just me in, interview and creative mode of getting people on to kind of promote their business and also just kind of talk about some stuff other than sports, because to say what I was saying, I've sported y'all to death, and I'm definitely not watching sports as much as I used to. I'm not even really gaming as much as I used to, but that's because I'm also readjusting to my new routine too, but that's another story. I might have talked about this last week, but I'll give this as a friendly reminder. We're in quarter 2 of 2021, and I would not be remiss if I did not make sure I remind you all, as special, my friend Special reminds me, and I want to make this known to others. Be sure that you come into this quarter with a plan. I've shared this with other people And it's been like the simplest thing to just try out. And it's been very resourceful of, hey, take a chance, put some ideas on paper. Just come up with 3 things you want to do today, 3 things you want to do this month, 3 things you want to do this week. At least 3 things you want to get done this year, and not just kind of sort of do them. But also, like, I even said this to, like, I shared this with a friend of mine. We were having a conversation about planning. And I asked her, I was like, what are your top 3 goals? And I'm not going to put too much of it in personal aspect, but it was simple things that can be done, which is cool. But then I also wanted her to understand, like, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant and time-based. Like, it needs to fit that SMART goals cue. And I might make that the background image for this podcast. I don't know. Cause I'm in between, cause y'all know I'm in the DMX mode. Like, I started off with the music, and as y'all heard, or if you do remember in the intro, we do not own the rights to any music that's heard. It's all to be given to the credit of those who have performed and created their specific content. The only thing that I've gotten the green light on using and having available would be the actual intro and outro music, which Tanya has been very gracious in sharing with me. And I always make sure that you all have that link in my show notes as well. And I also want to mention before I forget that if you are looking to get any cleaning work done, Peachy Clean RVA, check her out, check out her business. And also check out my boy with his lock company. Once he gets really going and gets everything set up, I may be working with him on doing the site. I don't know yet, but we'll see how manifestation works, especially with me doing my things as far as software development. So I wanted to blend all of that in while I thought about it. I had it fresh on my head. Yesterday was a big day. And I say it was a big day because the news broke. Everything, any memorable moment that happens in our life, we can always say we remember where we were when we found out this. And I can recall yesterday almost, if not, felt like it felt like last year when I was in Starbucks. So if you've been listening to the podcast, or if you know, last year, early in the year, I was in Starbucks. I think I had just finished. I don't even think I had did my recording. I think I was in there just hanging out. And, you know, I'm online, I'm doing different things here and there. And a friend of mine messages me and says, Kobe died. And I was like, no, I'm not believing it. This is a troll. I ain't sold on it. I ain't hearing it. And I'm at Starbucks and I read the news. I see the stories. Everything comes up, and it actually was confirmed that Kobe had passed. I can literally remember that was the one point which pushed me to get back to planning again, or getting my bullet journal thing going on, because I had the book to do bullet journaling. I had an actual book by the creator of bullet journaling, writer Carol. I'm looking at the book and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do it. And I started, you know, I finished reading the book by then. Like, I had a few days after I finished it, because I was like, oh, I'm not gonna start until I actually read the book, and I didn't start on day one, so I felt bad. But I was able to eventually get it going and make it a thing. So, you know, I got that done, and it was a good year. Like, this year I haven't bullet journaled as much. Maybe this might be that reminder to get back to doing it more frequently. Who knows? But I was at work and notifications going off. I think it was probably about between the 8 and 9, like the first hour of my shift, I got the news. And I went on break. I was okay a little bit. When I went to lunch, it hit, but then it hit to a point where I really had to, like, keep myself composed, but also stay focused on, like, you know, staying on plan. I literally, you know, had a friend of mine who was in that space of, hey, I just need someone to talk to. I need to get some thoughts out. And I was like, hey, you doing this might be a win-win situation because I need something to get my mind off of what I'm dealing with or what's going on. And it generated some assessment that I'll get into in a bit. But I, listened to what she had going on. And then, of course, I'm, telling her, like, yeah, it actually is true. He passed. And, like, it already was about to happen anyway. But that kind of made it clear that it was time for me to, like, step away. Like, just turn social media off. Which I did. And I already was intending to do that based on what I already talked about last week from my interactions with others. I'm not going to go back down that rabbit hole because there's no need. But I will say that I listen, like when you listen to artists or when you listen to things that they say, the message comes in with a different ear, or it comes in with a different interpretation when they're not here. The perfect example that I can give of that is 2019. I can remember I had been listening to the album before Nipsey had passed, but listening to it after he passed, Blue Laces 2 does not sound the same. And that's in a good way. It was that album that really kind of, and it was this, because if I'm not mistaken, I remember correctly, that was his first studio album. Kobe last year. I knew about the Mama mentality. I had heard about the Mama mentality. It wasn't something that I really was aware of and really getting the gist of at its peak. But after he passed, I'm like, oh, I need to find a sign. Like a friend of mine, like told y'all before, she redid the sign for me, which I still have on the wall. It's not coming down anytime soon. And then you fast forward to DMX's passing, and I had been listening to a lot of his music already, but I think one point, it probably was before they announced it, I had already went back and listened to like the full It's Dark and Hell is Hot. Like listening to that album just it literally blew my mind. And I think what's even tougher about it is I listened to that album and then I go and listen to if you think of It's Dark and Hell is Hot, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, and then you listen to, and then there was X. And the songs that were really, the stories he was telling, a lot of the prayers that he was saying, it was a misinterpreted breakdown because a lot of people looked at DMX as to how hard he was, but he legitimately had and has a relationship with God. And I didn't, I knew that, but I really didn't think of it or put it all into perspective until I really have gone back and listened to the songs. Like, and I'll tell this because I'm open to it and I don't mind saying it because it's my podcast. I can do what the fuck I want anyway. And it's explicit content. So my bad to anyone who's used to my nice and subtle podcast. Even with the DMX intro, y'all know y'all know how I do. I literally listened. I went back and looked at. So a few days ago, I said I'm about to make some changes to my routine. There's some stuff that I'm gonna stop listening to, or stuff that I'm not gonna feed that isn't giving me the food that I need to become a better me. And I was like, all right, it's a lot of podcasts that I'm really subscribed to or listening to that I really shouldn't be listening to because it's not putting anything in that's helping me. So I said, okay, let me start unsubscribing to a couple of podcasts. Joe Budden's podcast came up, and I love Joe Budden. I love the style, the format, but I also know that for where I'm going and what I'm doing, it's some points that it hits, and there's other points where I'm just like, not my lane, not my dance, and I'm okay with that. So I had unsubscribed. I didn't listen to the show Wednesday. It's a group of guys and girls who I'm in a group chat with. And they were talking about the Wednesday show. And I was like, okay, I hear them and I get it. And I gave my thoughts on it at that time. And I was like, okay, whatever, fine. Fast forward, yeah, I was home, you know, get the news yesterday, and then this morning I said, you know what, I'm gonna go and find the show that he does today because I know him and how he is about music as well as I know how this is gonna go. So I was like, let me just listen to the intro, and I think I'm still like in the early part of the podcast, but even with what I've listened to so far, I was just like when he got into just his, you know, Joe is a music snob. And I always come back to saying this because I know I'm friends and I connect with a lot of people who are music snobs, and there are different levels to music snobs because everyone has their own niche and their own taste in what they listen to. And I respect all of them, and they all respect mine because we have to. It benefits in making the communication of music. Like I've said this before, music can be a love language if you really think about it. And that's just what it is. But anyway, I was like, let me just play his show today and see what, you know, where he's going. Soon as he played Slippin', I said, this is definitely what I needed. Like I listened to that. And I think even I went back and played, I played I Miss You, the song he did with Faith Evans. And I was just like, man, it's still unreal. But it's that, again, like that, when you listen to a song and you listen to the words, it really comes from a different space when you least expect it. I've had a lot of friends who have texted me or have reached out to me through different social platforms. You know, I said it early on. I'm okay. I'm good. I'm in good spirits. My friend asked me, matter of fact, Angie, she was on the show when I did the year in review. Definitely go back and check out that show. I'm planning to have her on again. We're working that up. I'm hoping by June, if not in June, to have her back on the show. But I'm here to be honest in saying that she hit me with, and because we're friends like that, and most friends do it anyway, she will ask that uncomfortable question that I'm not ready to answer, but I know I need to answer it. So I'm just sitting there like, I can't lie, because even if I do, I'm not going to do a good job of it. And I'm always going to be honest with myself, if nothing else. And she just was like, are you okay? And I was just like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. I'm happy. Or just, am I happy? And I was like, where I'm at right now from where I was, yeah, I'm happy. Like, there's always that room for growth and that room to feel that more could be done or should be done or whatever the case may be. But it's just not, it's not going to hit the same for everybody, which it happens. Like, that's life, right? Like, you're going to go through those phases of those stages where you're just in a rough patch. And I went on my Instagram and talked to someone who I've met through a room or a house through Clubhouse. And she just kind of reached out and was like, hey, you okay? Like, I've seen you been, because a lot of people know when I move different. And it's like, all right, what's up? What's going on? And I just kind of broke it down like, yeah, I needed a break from social media. I took a break from the group. I took a break from a lot of things. And she just was like, you know, even with her being on the West Coast in Vegas, being cool as she is, she just was like, you sound like you need a hug. And like, you know I can't personally give you one and it may not be the solution. I was like, no, technically a hug is what I am sensing that I need right now. And it's not like I even broke it down to somebody, today. It's not me needing the intimacy and the affectionate part. It's the quality time and the connection of just someone offering some form of touch without it being sexual. Little things go a long way. And I think sometimes we don't understand it when everyone's kind of lived and rocked the way they rocked and it worked. And for others, it's like, nah, that ain't working. And how I've been running it or rocking it out for the last few years, the last few months, it's working, but it ain't working. Things have changed and things have improved, but a lot of things around me changed and a lot of things around me improved. So it made me change and it made me improve and it made me really push to like be a better version of myself. So circling that all back to DMX, circling that back to just where I'm at, it's you know, a lot of people have said this, and I'm not just saying it because everybody else is saying it. Like, I looked at Swiss Beats video. I looked at Drag On. I've looked at Black Rob. You know, they were saying he's not doing well health-wise. And I got to pass the message I'm going to hold in the back of what I'm about to say. And then we'll roll through this. But I watched a lot of videos and I listened to a lot of thoughts. And the main thing is he's at peace. He's no longer hurting. Like, music was he was giving music to us, and that made him feel good. But in him giving and feeding and helping everyone else with either music or with prayers or with thoughts or with just positivity or with just honesty, it was putting its wear and tear on him. And it's made me think about how I've given and helped so many people, which is nothing wrong with helping anybody. Like, let's be clear. But, Special has said this. I've heard other people say it. It's no benefit in you putting the mask on somebody else and you ain't giving yourself no oxygen. And if you don't get what that means, you ain't been on a flight or you ain't been in that circumstance where you really, and it ain't even just a flight. It's just real life. Like, if you're in need of air, you're trying to make sure you get air. Trying to sit there and save someone else and getting air and you're not getting air is not going to benefit the cause. Just roll with me. And I'm not just saying roll with me just because, but I'm saying roll with me because it really is how the real world and how reality puts it in perspective without it being put in perspective. DMX was a good dude, man. Like, I'm not just saying that just because, like, he in my opinion was the definition of down to earth. And you couldn't really see it because you'd see the concerts. A lot of people have gone to his concerts. I've never been to his concerts. Anyone that knows me knows I love music, but my level of music snob is some artists that I could do concerts, and some I'm just like, yeah, my money ain't there. Yeah, that's not something that I'm really gonna sit and enjoy. Yeah, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna expect these songs in this order, but I also have to remember I'm not the only person there. Like, it's different things like that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, a few years ago, I think it was 2018, a friend of mine, which to say what I was saying helped our friendship. We went to see R. Lennox. So she invited me to see R. Lennox, which to this day is still a blessing in itself. And just being in that environment to see everyone like enjoying the music and just kind of taking it all in, I had a good time. Like, I really enjoyed that type of musical session, to say what I was saying. You just sometimes never know what's going to get you to that point of like really enjoying music for what it is. And that's just kind of what it is. That's that on that. So my message that I'm going to pass along is I'm going to do something a little, I ain't even say unorthodox, but just something that it happened, and I'm going to kind of unpack it and give it the leverage that it needs, but also make the statement that needs to be said. And then you'll kind of see where I'm going with this. So yesterday I put up a status, and this status will kind of tie into what I've learned, not just with DMX, but just with the internet and with how stories are told or shared. Giving someone a smartphone doesn't give them a reliable source of confirming or denying information. Do your proper research and stop making assumptions. Bottom line. Now, this could kind of be an add-on from the tirade and the tangent that I went on last week, but it's a little different this week because everyone wanted to be the one. Everyone was trying to report that DMX is not doing well. Everyone is saying that we really praying for you. We send our hearts and our well wishes, but this is tough because this might be it. This felt like Michael Jackson all over again, just quicker, but longer. And it probably is going to sound odd, but if you know, you know. I saw like someone who I personally know literally was like, he ain't here no more, he gone. And I was like, no one confirmed this. What research did you do to just kind of throw that out there as a wild card? even down to like celebrities were doing it, and the celebrity posted it, and it caused a lot of uproar. You know, after the news did officially break, even down to his manager had to kind of come out and say, "Hey, he's still fighting. They're still going through their everything. Let their family handle this in their manner. Don't handle this for them. But we want to be involved." And it just was a lot. You know, like even down to people, you know, even down to conversations of he probably, you know, he took the vaccine or he had COVID. And it's like, why are y'all into it or that invested when it's not your fight, it's not your battle? Like, calm down, relax. It is okay. Like, I get it. It was a massive situation. But don't sit down here and make the moment your moment and it's not yours. Like, I read somebody put up a tweet today about, cause they were showing a video of Black Rob, like on bed in a hospital bed talking about DMX and, you know, wondering or concerned about his health. And of course it was like, yeah, he got the vaccine. See, the vaccine affected him. And so now he's all messed up. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. Are we back down this road again? Like, for a while, in my personal perspective and observation, I wasn't hearing as much vaccination battle as I heard back in January. And I think too, a lot of it has to do with I toned out or I muted a lot of thoughts that were going down that road because everyone became professionals that weren't professionals. There, I said it. Everyone was a professional that is not a professional. Everyone has a thought that is their own thought, but is not the thought affiliated with what is going on. We all have opinions. We're all entitled to them. We're all allowed to speak on them. The brick wall becomes when you make an opinion or you give a story that is not a story and expect it to be believable and applicable in a situation that it does not apply. And this is the message that kind of intertwines with that. Effective communication is not just listening and it's not just talking. It is reading and interpreting and also understanding. Let me repeat what I just said. And I'm saying this the way I am because I want to make sure that none of the words that I share are missed on this episode that I'm about to upload. And now I got to make sure I say it because long pause. using Audacity is funny, by the way. Effective communication is not just listening and talking. It's also reading, interpreting, and understanding. Interpreting means if you don't understand what was said or you're needing clarification, you communicate, hey, I don't understand what you mean. Can you explain that a little clearer for me? Hey, I think I know what you're trying to say, but could you add a little more context to it? Friends of mine who have known me, if you've been in my circle over 5 years, if you say something that ain't making sense, the first statement or the first words that are going to come out of my mouth is, I need context. Put me in the scenario so I can understand what happened. Because if I don't know what's going on with it, I'm going to be as invested as I can, but I can't give a perspective on something I don't know enough about. Because that then makes it a complicated conversation to say what I was saying. And that can be very annoying and that can be very tedious, whether people know it or not. So learn how to properly communicate and get thoughts out to others. And before I forget, because I do want to share this because I'm excited for her and I'm patiently going to be supporting my friend Maisha. I reached out to her and I got confirmation that she is about to get her podcast going. And from what I'm hearing and from what I believe will likely occur, she has it's going to be a rebrand, but a beneficial rebrand. If I'm gathering it as to how it's being shown. I was tagged in a post, and it sucks because I missed the post because I'm just trash with social media sometimes. Guilty as charged. But I will say that I'm excited for her in this occurring. Because as I've always said, even with me having the amount of shows that I have, I'm still a small creator. Well, let me not say that. I'm still one of many creators in this creative space. And that can be intimidating sometimes, but it also can be motivational if you know how to make it not take over your plans and your objectives and your supposed itinerary. So I'm going to say what I say, and I'm going to share how I share. If you get information, don't sit down there and get the information and not do your proper due diligence of making sure you're getting the correct information out there. There's a reason I don't post as much as I used to. I used to tweet and social and Instagram every single thing. Now it's got to make sense for me to put it on my page, because once it's up, even if I take it down or if I happen to remove it, somebody is going to keep it in their archive, or somebody has already screenshotted it, or someone has already saved it, or someone has already retained it. It's going to get picked up, even if you don't intend for it to get picked up. I've posted over, I would say, 120,000 tweets on Twitter. It's very few occasions have I had to go back and remove a tweet. I've posted over 118,000 tweets. I've been on Twitter for 13 years. Yes, that's a lot of tweets. But I also have had fun in using Twitter. I say that to say that I say that because something can get taken down, but just because I deleted it doesn't mean somebody didn't screenshot it. That's it. That's just what it is. So like I said earlier, anyone that's been checking on me, I'm good. I'm great. I'm pressing. I'm keeping it positive and keeping focused, because y'all know when it's grind time, it's grind time. Ain't no kind of sort of if, maybes, or could be, should be. It's what it's gonna be, and it's what it's gotta be, because can't nobody else do it but me. And that's just where I'm at, and that's what I'm on. So that's my time. That is the end of this episode. I know I've rambled this a little bit longer than I expected, but I wanted to at least make sure that I address the thoughts that are heavy on my mind and my heart, and most of all on my spirit. Tonight, or whenever you listen to this show, I really pray and I really ask those who have been with me, or have known me, or do know me, to know that I love y'all. And if it's any bad blood, I can only handle what I can handle on my end, and that's trying to make it right. And if it comes out right, awesome. If it's still hostility, let's talk it out, or let's move forward. But if you holding on to it ain't gonna benefit, because when we no longer here, we no longer here. You can't go back and say, "Oh, I wish I could have said," because you can't reverse death. You can fight me, you can at me, you can battle me about it, but you just can't. So that is my time. Thank you all again. If you all are not doing so, because I always forget to do this, whatever platform you listen to this podcast on, please subscribe. If you do listen to it on Apple Podcasts, please leave a comment. And most of all, I think I put this in the final part, but if not, I'm going to share now. passpodcastbt@gmail.com, or the passpodbt@gmail.com. Please any information you need, if you need somebody to just talk to, you need a space to like be upfront, send it away. Cause you might catch me on a good day and I might actually respond and give you some good insight on something about life. So that's my time. I've said that's my time like 12 times. So there's another one. Y'all take it easy.
You have made it to the end of yet another episode of the Past BT Pod. I hope you gained something or walked away with some worthwhile information, whether it was related to any of the information provided about sports, about music, about technology, or possibly my personal fave, the Pass the Message. We want you to come in with an open mind and an open heart and walk away with something that's going to benefit you and carry you through your day, through your week, through your month, through your life. And that's the main objective here on the Pass. So I hope you were able to receive that. If you are looking to get find a good place to host your podcast, you can check out buzzsprout.com. And if you're also looking to invest in a microphone, a lot of people have their angst or their differences towards it. But I'm currently using the Blue Yeti X, and I've been using it for a little over a year. And it's still to this day one of my best investments I've made. And if I always give this as my closing tip. If you are a creative and you have the space to create, do not do your least to give your best effort towards what you're good at doing. Until next time, y'all take it easy.